Hello! Just out for a bit of a walk today. It's a Sunday. Not many people about. A wee bit of rain in the air, you see, it scares them all off. Anyway, I'm going to take a walk through the woods and I'm going to point out a few things on the way. You might know some of them, you might not, so hopefully you'll learn something. I think it's good to kind of walk along and point things out. People sometimes walk through the woods with their eyes closed a wee bit because they don't really know what they're looking for. So maybe if I can point a few things out, the next time you're out you'll be able to stop and look at things and get your identification books out, and it'll help you. First thing we've come across, major plantain. Has lots of medical uses for stopping blood, and there's the seeds, and as they mature we can make those into bread. Definitely worth looking up. Major plantain's common. The young leaves can be eaten, and of course it's a rosette which stays on the ground all the time, even over winter. Over here we have some wood avens, which is also known as herb Bennett. It's all the wee seeds coming off, the little burrs on them. We also have a dock here, but down here there's narrow leaf plantain as well. Down here we have lots and lots of brook lime, which has a little blue flower. In fact, there you go, there's a little blue flower there. It's one of the speedwells, Veronica. Always grows in kind of moist ditches like this. It's a very useful plant, edible. Also has medical properties. Here's some sphagnum moss, which people have been used for many years. It has antiseptic properties for staunching wounds, and women have used it as kind of for feminine reasons, let's just say. Here's some colt's foot. The leaves come out after the flower, which is a bit of a strange one. You can kind of burn this in the fire until it kind of produces a fine ash, and you can use the ash to season your food. It's a wee bit, not really salty, I wouldn't describe it, but it gives it a season to it. There's some rose bay willow herb. Kind of long leaves, and what I would describe as whorls. Now of course we've got our nettles. Hogweed. That's not the giant hogweed, but you can eat these leaves when they're very, very young. Not so good when they're old. So let's move on a wee bit, see what else we can find. You can actually see out there in the field all those pink flowers. That's the rose bay willow herb flower. Rose bay willow herb, you can eat the pith when it's a bit younger. You can make string out of it. When it's dead and dry, it'll stand, and you can actually, it's fantastic tinder. And you can eat the leaves too. It has many, many uses. Make a nice tea out of the flowers as well. Here's some other, that'll be broadleaf willow herb here. Similar kind of properties to the other one. Or major willow herb, that could be. Here we have a big line of beech trees. Beech is great for roasting, it's very dense wood. If you want good kind of coals for roasting food, it gives off a lot of heat, burns for a long time. You can eat the young leaves, and you can eat, of course, the nuts. The nuts will be coming out in the next few weeks or so. They'll be maturing, kind of start of September through September. So beech is another useful to know. It's not native to Ireland, but it grows here, naturalises. You'll see the wee seedlings everywhere. And here we have a stand of Sitka spruce. Sitka spruce and Norway spruce are the two most common kind of spruce plantations in Ireland. Sitka spruce is very spiky, it's hard to grab, while Norway spruce is a lot softer, and Norway spruce has a longer cone as well. So, spruce roots, fantastic cordage. Dig them up, you can split them. You can use the needles for tea, it's high in vitamin C. You can eat the inner bark. The lower branches, see all these wee lower branches here, are all dead and dry and usually quite resinous. Spruce is a great wood to start fires with because it's resinous, it's dry, makes good feather sticks. So there you go, lots of spruce. You can also use spruce for hand drill and bow drill as well. It's good for the hearth. Nice big stand of nettles here. They're getting tall because we're approaching the end of the season. So this is the time that you would start to make your string. And down here we have one of the cresses, a hairy bitter cress, which is very peppery. Right, so nice little plant there, it's growing there. That's one of the mustard family, which, as we all know, the mustards are a little bit of herb Robert. Which is one of the geranium family. I used to always get Herb Robert and Herb Bennett mixed up, even though they look nothing alike as the names. But then I just imagined my wife's dad, he's called Robert, lots of nice wee pink flowers in his hair, and I've never forgot since. So stupid things like that will really help you remember. Here we have our bed straw with the little, this is the stuff that sticks to you. It's like Velcro. These little balls can be roasted and made into coffee, and they're actually related to coffee. Same family. They have caffeine in them, I believe. There's medical uses, and you can eat it when it's young too. Lots of it there. In amongst, of course. Dog rose. Of course, rose leaves can be made into tea. And of course you'll get hips. Well, the older ones you'll get hips off, which are full of vitamin C. You scrape off the outer flesh, you can make a lovely tea, rose hip tea. They seem to sell things like that. I think you can make rose hip beer and everything. The size of those thorns. It looks as though it would be a good fishing hook, but unfortunately the thorns come off a wee bit too easily, you know. But you can actually lash them on to other bits of wood. Like so. And you get a little, the makings of a fishing hook. There we go. Here we have some lady's mantle. It's a distinctive leaf. It's not a useful plant medically. It's definitely one to look up. Here we have something called knapweed. And of course it's related to the thistle. It's quite a strange little plant that, but it's good for whenever it dries off towards the winter time. It's good for tinder and things, you know. Has some medical uses too, but it's quite distinctive. Little balls. The leaves are very rough too, and they have these little bits at the bottom. And the stem has ridges on it. Here's a little thing that you don't really see that often. Beside this, which is self-heal, which I've done a video about, good for cuts and things like that. is our little friend. This is eyebright. Grows in tall stalks and has these little flowers. Eyebright's good, of course, for eye complaints. It's eyebright. It's a very, very lovely little flower. The colouring's off the flowers a wee bit, but it does actually look a bit like an eye if you get it at the right time. See the little leaves are very small and kind of pointy. Kind of like tiny, tiny little holly leaves. There's some red clover. And of course we'll have our narrow leaf plantain. A bit of hawkweed growing there. More eyebright. This is where we come into the willow grove. These are all goat willow. And if you kind of look into them, you see all the amount of dead wood. So that's our means of making fire. Friction fire set from willow. And of course you've got all the fuel too. You can make string out of them, and you've got your medicine. Willow's a great, great resource to know. There's more willow. It's always lighter on the underside, and the end has a little turn to it. That's the goat willow. It always grows as a shrub like that. It'll never get much bigger. It's always multi. Our old friend meadowsweet, the germaline of the plant world, antiseptic properties. Crush it up, make a tea out of it. The root's the most powerful bit. Lovely, lovely smell of it. And over here we have a fallen Scots pine. So, Scots pine is a good chance to show you something actually. The needles come in twos, and they have little cones like that. Okay, so anyway, see all these bits here? That's rocket fuel for your tinder bundle. Bone dry and resinous. Okay. Here's a whole tree worth of it. On the other side of this tree, there's very, very little wind. You guys can probably hear the wind, and hopefully you can hear. There used to be a dam here. Oh, sorry, there used to be a lake here. But it seems to have been drained, which is a real shame. I wonder what happened to all the fish. And the bird life. This place was teeming with ducks and swans and moorhens, coots. All I see now is a few seagulls. But all the fresh growth down here is amazing. The ground will be so fertile. I'll maybe make my way down here because I see some interest is often the case with disturbed ground. Here we find our old friend silverweed. Sorry, my battery went dead there, I had to change it. Anyway, we were talking about silverweed. Silverweed grows in disturbed ground. Here it is. This is the leaf. And it's silvery on the underside. Here's the little flower. It's a little silverweed flower. Looks like a buttercup. The thing about silverweed is it's got edible roots, which is very useful. But they can be hard to get out if you don't get the right ground. That's a very small root. You get them up to about kind of not as thick as a pencil, about half as thick as a pencil maybe. But they're very easy to gather. The way I would do it here is get yourself a good digging stick and work out a good kind of square metre plot, and then lever it up and turn it over, and you'll be able to just pick the roots out. To dig them up individually with your hands is very energy inefficient. But look at all this silverweed here. You know, it's everywhere. Grown at the edge in the very fertile ground. Saw something move there, but I think it might have been a wee frog. Protein. Here's some red shanks, it's called. Not many uses that I know of anyway. There's all the red shanks there. So let's go and have a look at this lake. More members of the mustard family. Here. The yellow flowers. You know it's a mustard. It's all the distinctive characteristics. There's a great book, Botany in a Day. Highly recommend getting it. Don't really want to go into that in this video because you can get bugged. Well, I can't. I get bugged out very quickly in botany. It just bores everybody to death. So there you go. That's the mustard. Another mustard. All these stone kind of lines of loose stone. It's a strange place now. I would be actually underwater right now, not too long ago. But they've drained it, they're obviously going to maintain it. This is a water reservoir. Interesting. There's lots of wagtails about, making the most of the fertile soil, little seeds and things. But there's lots and lots of mustards about. And bits of flint that have been underwater for perhaps 100 years. Flint, and lots of it. The ground's quite soft in places, so I'm trying not to sink up to my knees here. Oh, lovely and peppery. You couldn't get fresher than that. I think this is actually growing. It's just come in on the wind. And it's growing. There's a whole carpet of it here. Lovely. Mustard and red shanks. That's basically all there is growing here. Nice little stream here. In fact, looks like a bit of a spring. Look at that. The water's just welling up. That's amazing. That's old groundwater there. Just feeding this little stream. So obviously that was just pumping away underneath the lake. Feeding all the way down there. Not going to go too close to this, but here's a bit of an underground stream. There's actually another little spring over here. It seems to be one of the few ponds left now. There's lots and lots of movement in this. I wouldn't be surprised if there was a few fish trapped in it. Let's see what I can see. There's definitely small fish, I can see them. But I don't think it's deep enough for anything big to be survived in. Must remember this wee spot for whenever the lake's filled up again. All long gone. The ground just cracks as it dries out. It's very, very rich soil. There's flint everywhere. It looks as if there's a bit of a boat over here too. Somebody's ship has sank over there. Looks like a long time ago. The little woodland I like to come to. Sit quietly for a while. It's very, very damp in here today. It's a beach wood. Pure beach. Good place to build a debris hut. There's a few fallen trees too. Some of the trees just die off and leave these little depressions. They're all generally pointing the same way. This gives you an idea of direction if you know the prevailing wind direction. This woodland has just been left as it is. Sometimes you get people in through walking their dogs. And it's public land, so nothing you can do about it. Nice little wood. Not that old really. 40 or 50 years old maybe. There's deer up in here, but it's a big, big area. It's very, very hard to see. They don't really need to come anywhere near the paths. But if you're quiet and it's the right time, you've got a good chance of seeing them. Just stepped in off the path. The path's blocked by a fallen lost in cypress, and as I stepped in to go around it, I noticed some of these little violets. They have a lovely little purple flower, and both flower and leaf are edible. Violets always grow in the shade like this. There's not really much else that grows in a kind of a spruce wood. It's so dark and the ground's very acidic from the needles. We have lots of mosses and ferns, so I love that type of thing. And of course, our old friend, wood sorrel. It looks like clover, but it has a fine covering of hairs, a little white flower and red stems. Doesn't get as big as clover either. Plus it's usually just a single leaf each stem. There you go, that's edible. It's a lovely kind of apple peel taste. It contains oxalic acid, which if you eat too much can give you a bit of a bellyache. So that's never a good idea. Self-heal. What's this? This is a bit of a rare one. This is called sneezewort, which is related to yarrow. Now, it's a plant that I haven't actually come across that much, but I recognise it. It's very, very distinctive. It has, the leaves are just slightly serrated. You'll not be able to see that on camera, but I must actually look this up and see what kind of qualities it has. I assume it has similar qualities to yarrow, because plants in the same family often do. And if it's called sneezewort, wort usually signifies a medical plant. And if it's sneeze, I would assume it has some kind of antiviral, it helps your cold or flu. So, there you go, sneezewort. Here we go, just at the trail side, we have our raspberries. And lots of them too. That's the end leaf. Square stem, opposite leaf, bugle-like flowers. Guess what it is? I hope you've enjoyed this little walk, guys. It's getting really warm now. The midges are starting to come out, and I think they smell blood. Unfortunately, my blood. So, I'm gonna set up camp. I think that's my filming finished for today. Gonna relax have a nice cup of coffee, bake a wee bit of bread, cook a nice trout, and I'll see you the next time.